Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We're back on the dev server and it's time to have a look at another pre-order vehicle that is in the house. Remember, if you want to pick up any of these pre-order vehicles, make sure to use my partner link so you can get yourself a discount on them, especially since some of them are pretty pricey this time. The Centauro RGO is basically a Centauro 120. If you haven't played Italy before, you have this wonderful vehicle in the tech tree, and I've really enjoyed it over the years when I've played it, and the basic difference between these is not a lot. You know, the camo is pretty much it, and also you get some gun shields for the 30 and the 50, so if you are used to the Centauro 120, you will be used to the RGO too. The other part of it is the fact that this is Omani, I'm guessing is what it is. This is from Oman, and it gets a unique camouflage compared to a bunch of the other vehicles. You have the standard, the desert, and then also the winter, but you have the bicolor desert too, which is quite nice to see. So that overall is quite good. You can see here with the Centauro 120 that the vehicle itself gets the tricolor instead, which is this one, and then also a standard desert camouflage and the winter one for its standard skins. So at least there's that. You also, I believe, get some other pre-order bonuses with this, so that's at least something to look at. So what is this? Well, it's a souped up Centauro with a big old 120mm from Otto Melara. The Centauro, if you've never played it, is really fun. It has a 550 horsepower engine. It has a good transmission, meaning that it can really motor around the place and also just flies around, and it's just really fun to use. At the same time, you have the rolled homogeneous armor, which is there too, and then also it has some quite fun armor on the outside, but at 11.3 the armor's really not going to do too much. You're basically hoping for weird shots to happen or very odd things to happen at that point. The crew is a 4-man crew. You have the driver, the commander, the gunner, and also the loader. You have the first stage ammo stowage here. If you actually have a look at the loader itself, you can see that it can get down to a 5-second reload if you really want to. Now, this used to be pretty special. A 120mm with a 5-second reload, but then, you know, the Type 90 started existing, and then also recently the Abrams now has a Ace Crew 5-second reload as well, since of course the Abrams was struggling for some reason. So the Centauro RGO used to have a really good gun. It still does have a really good gun, but not as good as some of the other vehicles that are around. The armor on it on the outside is very pitiful. You know, you have a base kind of template of 20mm, and then also you have some, you know, thick steel in places, but it's really not going to stop anything. It is a vehicle which relies on angles and people just missing shots. So, for example, if you actually go here and you're shooting this way, if you screw up the shot, it actually would just ricochet off of this. But if you just shoot it here, the driver will be dead, but not the turret. So it is all just about angling your vehicle, not from a point of view of not taking damage, because you're always going to take damage, right? You're always going to take damage in this machine. Instead, what you're trying to do is you're trying to minimize the amount of damage that you take, which is very different. And the smoke grenades can help with that. The mobility of this machine can help with that. The two-plane stabilizer on the 120mm can help with that too, with its pretty good targeting speed. Doesn't have the best gun depression, which is a bit of a problem, and also at the same time it has a bit of an issue getting it on target just because of how high the chassis is. If you look at a stat like gun depression, like if you have a look at it on stuff like Soviet vehicles, it'll say stuff like -5, which isn't great, but the thing is the silhouette of the vehicle is quite low, right? Well, the Centauro silhouette is really high, and the gun is set really high, and it doesn't have as good gun depression. So that's something you have to take into account. When you're using this vehicle, in order to get the gun on target, you're going to have to expose yourself way more compared to other vehicles that will just have to expose, you know, their general turret. Weaponry-wise, the 120 doesn't actually get the best round that is in the Italian tech tree. It gets the second best round, but not the best. The best right now is the DM53, but the RGO gets access to the CL3143. This used to be the best round in the game many moons ago, and it was really good, and it's still really good now. It's able to go through a lot of stuff, able to do a ton, and since this vehicle is an aggressive scout, it can go toe-to-toe with a lot of the vehicles that you'll face. The only thing that you'll struggle with is not the penetration of this round, but the spore liners that you'll run into from other vehicles. It'll still be fine though, it'll work a treat, and alongside the thermals, the scouting ability of this thing, the LWSLR, which is a huge positive for it, these all can marry together to make a pretty nice aggressive scout setup. A lot of light vehicles have kind of pretty fast-firing guns and generally will be able to do a ton of damage to a bunch of the enemies that are around. The Centauro has to rely on a much larger caliber gun, but will still have a lot of damage coming out of it, and it will do pretty well in that setup. With the laser rangefinder, the thermals, and also access to the CL13, you'll be able to do a bunch of damage to anything that you'll fight, and the overall mobility of this thing is just a huge positive in terms of how much you can do to be able to nuke targets. So for me, I really enjoy the Centauro. There isn't a Centauro that I've played that I've not enjoyed, and this one would be no different because it's just a straight copy of the one in the tech tree, which is really fun. The question you have to ask yourself is, what is the longevity of a vehicle like this, and what is the longevity of the Italian tech tree? Because, you know, everybody's heard the memes. The Arietes aren't very good, they're the weakest Heiter MBT. The Italians have even just kind of set up a set of intent to buy Leopard 2s instead of upgrading their own Arietes in real life, showing that the vehicle itself is not exactly in the greatest spot. So, unless you're waiting for something like a Hungarian 2A7 or another vehicle like that, you're going to be limited in your top tier options for Italy for a while, unless other nations get added, which can definitely happen to them, since they are going to be a nation where that's going to get filled with a bunch of different stuff. So, for something like this Centauro, if you are a person who already has a lot of Italy ground out, it's probably not going to be that worth it. Is this one going to be good for grinding out Italy? Yeah, I think so, because even in, you know, pretty poor matchmaking, you'll be able to still scout, you'll be able to still do stuff, and also with some other additions to the Hungarian air tree, it means you can get into some airplanes and have a bit of fun. So this vehicle, I would actually say, is in a really nice place. The only real question you got to ask yourself is, will it be worth it in the long run, based on what you can actually research with it? And sometimes, you know, you just want a vehicle to have a bit of fun with, and this one is going to be that at those higher BRs. But, you know, at the end of the day, premiums do need a little bit more purpose, especially since this is a direct copy of one that's already in the tech tree. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.
I'd like to thank Schnitzel Stroker, Brendan Quinn, Vilneus, Character Fuel, Carrion Crow, Nicholas Richardson, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, B. Young, Opium Prime, Masonocrat, Lafouche, Alan Hacker, Sem Arslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.